Do you own your mistakes? Do the people in your company do that? Today on the Culture Hack, we have John Wiehler. He's the president and CEO of Wiehler, and he's going to talk about building a culture of accountability where you own your mistakes and it's okay to make a mistake. Come check it out on the Culture Hack. Hey, it's Adam here, and you're watching the Culture Hack, where we're talking about how to create engaged workspaces that unlock the potential of your teams and drive your business forward in ways you've never seen. So stay tuned. John Wiehler, welcome to the Culture Hack. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks again. It's exciting.
We've had a lot of fun. If you missed the last two episodes, we talked about how Wiehler was started and this legacy of building a values-based business, and then what happens when you grow it, and how does that have to evolve, and how does that have to change, and how do you sort of build that culture. And now I really want to talk, get into some real stories that you have from these last few years of challenges you had as you scaled. Let's start internally to Wiehler. You're growing your company. More people are coming on. There was a transition period where maybe some clients went away and some stayed and this kind of the other. But yeah. Do you have any examples of things you had to deal with that people might relate to?
I think in speaking about like value and long-term value and commitment to quality and commitment to people, I think one of the really defining moment for our company happened probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and I got a call 4:30, 5 o'clock at night. John, like our ceiling's flooded, it's wrecked the main floor, and this was days away, or it was like just a couple of weeks after a client had moved into a very beautiful home. And sure enough, I went there, and there was water pouring out of the ceiling. It had just wrecked like a bathroom, a main floor ceiling, flooded a brand new hardwood floor, wrecked some furniture, and that's about the scariest thing that can ever happen. If you're on a plumbing company, if you're a plumber, everybody's missed a joint, and it sucks. The liability we carry is awful, and it's scary. And this woman had moved into her home, and she was there as all this was flooding. I called my dad and I called my brother because it was after 5 o'clock. And if you've ever been through a flood, what happens is you just grab whatever cloth or blanket you can find as fast as possible. And so my dad and my brother there, like our shirts are off, we're mopping the floor up with our hoodies. We've got the water off, we're trying to mitigate some of the damage. And rightfully so, the woman, she's quite upset, right? And she's like, John, like it's unacceptable. This can't happen. Like, how could this happen? Are you not taking this seriously? And I remember just pausing for a moment. I said, like, I know this is frustrating, and I am so sorry. I said, but I am here with my dad and my brother. We are mopping stuff up with our clothes. We will fix this. I am so sorry. Like, please give me that chance just to fix it. Mm-hmm. And we were able to try to diffuse some of that situation, and we were able to fix it and bring it back, but like that trauma stays. And there's kind of two things that came out of that. Is I spoke with one of my staff member who missed the crimp, and we went through it, and it's like, dude, like, how did that happen? And we went through some of his process, and mistakes happen. Like, I tell everybody who I work for, like, all of my staff are human beings. Like, they do make mistakes. We try to mitigate as best as possible. And I remember Arthur came to me, he's like, John, like, I feel so bad. He's like, I'll quit. Like, I don't want you to have to bear the responsibility of that. I feel horrible. I've like damaged, like, your reputation, I've damaged mine. I think the best thing for me to do is to leave. And I talked to him, I was like, man, like, I'm about to spend like $25,000 to $30,000 on your education. It's like, can you be $30,000 better, like, going forward?
Yeah.
And to this day, now that man, Arthur, who offered to quit because out of honor, he runs my service division with Ashley. And the homeowner, right, like Lisa, we still maintain her house to this day. And it's very easy for us all to think about, well, like, people like me because we do perfect work. Right? People like our people use our service because we're the best. I used to have on my van, we get it done right the first time, and there's still a few vans that have that. Yeah. I don't say that anymore because it's not fair to set my staff up for that. Is it reasonable for anybody to have the expectation every single day you go to work that every time you do something, you'll do it right the first time? And I thought, I was standing in front of a house. It happened to be on the same street, which is too bad. After having made a mistake where we had failed to tie in some lines in the concrete.
Right.
And there's one time to get that right. You either tie them in the concrete and then they pour it, or you miss it and you never get that opportunity ever again. And as we were standing there and we were breaking apart the concrete after the person had moved in because it didn't work, the homeowner asked me, he said, John, can you tell me more about getting it done right the first time?
Ouch.
And it was a really good reflection as to, well, what type of business do I want Wiehler to be? Do I want to commit to my clients an expectation that's completely unreasonable? And then what is more realistic that is fair for that long-term service for my staff and for my clients for that long-term commitment value?
Right. It's almost like we've got you no matter what. Something like that.
And,
right?
and I like that one better actually. We came to, we'll get it done eventually.
Yeah.
But we decided that wasn't great. You can't put that on.
Well, I'm just picturing like somebody sitting there like, why are these Wiehler trucks like on our street all the time?
Well, and it's interesting because like a lot of clients, because we work with, it's a big company now and the company's highly visible. And there's clients who feel a lot of assurance that they see our vehicles on their street. And there's other clients who are like, you guys must make a ton of mistakes because we see your vehicles all the time.
Okay.
Like very few people call plumbing companies for fun. There's generally a problem.
Yeah.
Right? And I think being able to nurture that long-term value, sometimes we're fixing mistakes that we've made, and that's an awkward conversation with clients. Sometimes we're fixing mistakes that are just mistakes that are nobody's fault, but the client has to pay. And sometimes there's just like things that the client's very clear, it's not a mistake, it's just additional work. That work's more fun.
Yeah.
But navigating that, the mistake-based work and that long-term like service of a home that we've done originally, it's challenging because it really challenges the interpersonal relationship and communication.
Well, and I think, I picture you and your dad and your brother, and you're shirtless mopping it up, and emotions are high, right? The homeowner is upset, and you're personally tied to the work, whether or not you did it.
Yes.
Right. So there, it is not. I don't think anyone would blame you if you freaked out and fired everybody, and do you know what I mean? But the fact that you didn't. The fact that you had the emotional capacity to just take a moment, recognize what was happening, and then talk to your employee and come to an arrangement. But like everybody's watching, your whole team saw that. Right?
Everybody's watching. I think that's one thing that I should never be lost. Like on myself, right? Everybody's watching all the time. I was speaking with my controller yesterday, and I said like sleep is so important to me.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things about sleep that's important is that like I need to be able to recognize when I'm on my A game or not. Because if I'm not on my A game, I shouldn't show up to work. Right? Because the impact of making a flippant decision, a rash decision, losing my temper on somebody, right? Everybody's watching. That has a major cultural impact, right? And I think to be able to show in that moment support for Arthur, everybody watched.
Right.
And now we have a culture where making a mistake, you can make a mistake. You can't make that mistake twice, right? We want to modify our systems. We want to limit that mistake, but he can make the mistake, and we can still support him as a person. And that's what gets lost a lot of time in management and leadership.
Well, and I think the irony of it all is that if people have the space to feel comfortable and feel safe, they'll make less mistakes.
It's weird, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that you had that sense of mind to create that, and clearly it has benefited you guys as you've continued to grow and to continue to serve people here in Calgary.
To have the same staff member and the same client having mopped up her floor with my hoodie, right? I think is a true testament of like what living values means and what the payoff is in the long term.
Right. And now I think I can imagine. You said his name was Arthur. Like,
yeah.
You have a new staff member who makes a mistake. You're like, oh, buddy, let me tell you. Like,
yeah,
don't worry about it, right? Well, that's pretty fantastic. Next episode, I want to talk about kind of what's coming up, what's new and exciting, what's next for Wiehler. So, stay tuned. But before we get to that, how do people get a hold of Wiehler?
The best way to do it is through our website. Wiehler.ca, Wiehler. Doesn't matter how you spell it into Google, you'll probably find us.
Amazing. We'll see you then. Hey, thanks for watching The Culture Hack. Do you want to chat culture and engagement? Give us a call and come on the show.